Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 25th Planning Commission meeting of Emmitsburg. Welcome, everyone. We'll start off by having the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, welcome. And our first item of business is review and approval of the minutes of the July 31st meeting. Do any commissioners have any comments or questions about the minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the July 31st minutes.
Anyone like to second?
I will second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the July 31st minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes of July 31st are approved. We now have a period for public comment. If there's any public out there that wishes to comment. No?
I did sign up.
Yes, you did.
But I'd like to listen to the comp plan update
Okay,
and then talk after that. Is that okay?
that is okay. At our last meeting, I did mention that in addition to our regular section of public comment, I would like to add an additional time for public comment after we discuss the comp plan at each meeting. So we will be doing that. So moving right along, going to old business, and that brings us to the comp plan update. So Ms. Hassan, do you have anything for us?
Yes, I have a lot.
Yes.
So, this is one item, but there's like 3 sub items under this agenda item.
Mhm.
So the first one is a workshop plan to host a series of public visioning workshops to gather input from the Emmitsburg community for the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
And then the second one is the rearrangement of the format of this document. And then the third is parts of 2 proposed chapters. So the first sub item, the workshop plan. The plan suggests 4 workshops. And the first workshop will focus on the overarching vision of the town or for the town, while the other ones will have a narrower focus on the economy, environment, and community. So the proposed date for the first one is October 30th, 2023, and there will be a presentation to introduce the workshop series, followed by a brainstorming exercise and a SWOT analysis exercise. So the first part, the brainstorming exercise, will involve asking words or phrases that capture the core identity of Emmitsburg. And the second question will be what values should guide the comprehensive plan update. So participants will be asked to put their ideas on sticky notes, and then these will go on large poster boards that we will put up here. And after that, we'll have the SWOT analysis, or the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats analysis. So there will be 3 matrices focusing on economic development, environmental sustainability, and community development. Again, the participants will put their ideas on sticky notes, and once that's done, staff will go over those sticky notes and ask people to sort of elaborate on their points and get a discussion going. And then a brief overview of the next workshops will be provided. And the next 3 workshops that will take place in January, February, and March of next year, we'll take these the contents from the SWOT matrices and turn them into vision statements. So it will incorporate the strategic formulation that usually takes place after a SWOT analysis. So like matching strengths with opportunities, or to identify favorable solutions, or strengths to counteract external threats, things like that. And that will be the basis of the next 3 workshops next year. And then all these workshops will aim to assess where the town is going and where it would like to go as a community and how to get there. There's a mint green colored flyer in your agenda packet. This will go out to the community with their water bills. It'll also be posted on Facebook and the website. So we'll do all our best to do as much outreach as possible to get as many people in here as possible. So so that's the first item that I have. We can
Okay.
talk about that before moving on to the next.
Okay. Yeah, that all sounds good. I see that these workshops are scheduled for dates that would normally be the planning commission meetings. Are you envisioning that that's part of our meeting, or is we just won't meet that night, or we meet after the workshop, or what are you thinking there?
So if we get any applications for like development related projects, then sorry, so the primary thing would be those nights would be the workshops. And if we have those applicants, we would probably choose like a different date for the planning commission to meet
Okay.
as opposed to doing everything on the same night.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And one more question I had before I'll ask for others. The survey that you mentioned on the first overarching vision date, have you given any thought to having a survey available at a portal on our website perhaps?
Yeah, so the link would be available on the website. So and then on Facebook as well. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Any other questions, comments from other commissioners?
I have a few.
Valerie, go ahead.
Also a question about the survey. So I was wondering what the purpose of the survey is. Because it says participants will sign in and fill out a survey.
Oh, so that's basically getting, I know, who they are, where they live, how long they've been here, any sort of information like that.
Okay, gotcha. Roman numeral 2. The first hyphened line item, what words, and that should be changed to or phrases.
Right, yeah.
And then towards the bottom of that item, participants will be asked to, if you could just insert the word to, put their answers to these questions on sticky notes. And then public workshop number 2, which talks about the economic development.
Mhm.
I was wondering how we could go about getting businesses involved in that workshop in particular. Since it does refer to business development and most of it's business related.
I feel like someone else would love to answer that. but-
Yeah, so the businesses are eager to jump in. You know, we have some businesses that are, of course, more interested than others, but they're eager to jump in. And we have some that are on the Main Street businesses that are interested. We have some on the east end of town has also expressed interest. So I mean, as soon as we're good with the dates on the flyer, that flyer will go out, a scanned copy of all this. I already have it scanned. It's ready to go. I just have to hit send.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll definitely need your help with that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Page 4, public workshop 3. Bullet number 2, are there special areas, wetlands, hiking trails? Change trains to trails. And then I was wondering if Ms. Walbrecker had reviewed this because it's really excellent, and if all of your concerns were addressed that you brought up previously.
I did not receive a copy.
I don't have one on me, but it was posted on the website. Yeah.
Here, you can take a look at my copy. I know you had ideas, so I just wanted to make sure. that we captured your experience and ideas.
Say who I am for the.
Are you making comment now? We're,
Uh,
our commissioners are still having discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just look it over or
Yeah.
take it
Oh.
home, but it was excellent and very, very comprehensive and I think it covers a lot. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I like the flyer.
Yes.
That's it for me.
Any other commissioner?
Yeah, I just,
questions?
I think it's already had discussion outside of businesses. I think we need to also bring in the social organizations, the religious organizations. Is there? Well, I've drafted up the plan for the business organizations to drive them in. Is there any thought of outreach? And I've talked to the like American Legion, but I think they're just as important that we get those organizations involved. So we have to have some type of outreach to them.
Right. I'll be working with Ms. Warburger to get contacts and
Okay.
reach out to them.
Yeah, she
myself.
has one, I have one between the two of us. And everything. And I'm sure she'll jump in for the Lions Club. That the other thing is more on the technical during the meeting. I know in prior meetings with organizations, they don't understand SWAT. So I think we're gonna need to spend some time at a meeting to explain what that theory is before you jump into it with most people, because it's an acronym they just don't know.
Okay. Yeah. We'll start with a presentation as to like how it's gonna go,
Okay.
and then I can explain what that is in that
Okay.
presentation.
And then when we get down to the environmental impact, there's that long list that we're mandated by the state to talk to on that. I think we need to make sure everybody has a copy of all that state regulation that you have to address in your plan.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other comments from other commissioners?
I'm wondering if you are open to having a second meeting for the public for this first part of it, if the first one has an overwhelming amount of people attending. Because the timeline seems like it could be limiting if there is a lot of participation. And if you're inviting businesses and religious organizations and civic organizations, there could potentially be a lot of input. So just wondering if there's opportunity for another date if it needs to be continued for any reason.
I have thought about that. So I think we should keep an open mind in case, a lot of people show up and we have to find another date to continue the our workshop. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that might be a good thing to actually kind of plan for that perhaps. I mean, when you're talking about the overarching vision, that's kind of a big, broad thing and kind of hard to wrap your hands around sometimes. So maybe, we wouldn't necessarily need to use the date, but maybe just plug in a date to hold it, perhaps. I don't know. I think that might be good, but I know Frederick County, of course, it's not comparing apples to oranges, but or whatever the phrase is. They spend a lot of time developing their vision for the county. And, I just want to be sure we have enough time allocated to that. And back to my previous comment about the survey, after Valerie spoke, realized my mind went to a different place for the survey. I wasn't just thinking about personal data. I was thinking about people filling out a survey about the vision online. If there would be that opportunity, just like the questions that you have under number 2, for example, what words or phrases capture the core identity of Emmitsburg, and what values should guide the comprehensive plan, and questions like that. It wouldn't be the same as them sitting here personally through the SWOT analysis, but just one other way for other people to get involved. Some people don't like coming to meetings, and it's hard to get people to meetings, I think, a lot of times. So
Yeah.
Just any other opportunity we may have online to get input, I think might be good.
I think that's a great idea, even if you just ask people, what's the most important thing to them?
Yeah. It could be
Simple little
simple
things.
stuff.
come up with something that's, I'd say 10 to 20 questions. You don't want it too long,
No, no,
but something to just get the pulse of the community. What's
Yeah.
important to them? What would they like to see? What wouldn't they like to see?
Yeah, that could be even be added to the flyer that goes out with the water bill.
Okay.
If people just want to simply email you comments or questions or concerns, in addition to participating in the actual workshop, could kind of capture everything at the same time,
Okay. All right.
as well as maybe announce it on one site where it's listed.
Yeah, the website, and, we had the different Facebook groups that you and I have emailed back and forth to that will publish everything. I know you'll do it on the towns. I'll take care of the other ones since I'm the administrator on all the other ones for town.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. Have a separate link for the 2 questions that I have, describing Emmitsburg, its core identity and what values should guide the comprehensive plan. 2 separate surveys, so we know
Yeah.
who's filling out these surveys and what people think. Or combine those 2, so I think that's a good idea.
you have anything, Joe?
No, other than I like the whole idea for involvement. I think it's including it's be a comprehensive group of individuals providing their input into the plans. I think that's great. I like the idea of potentially a second overarching vision workshop if needed. So I like this. Thank you. Nothing to add. That's all.
Okay, thanks. So, did you want to comment now, Diane, or do you want to wait till the other part is presented?
Maybe if I could just ask a couple questions now,
It's okay with me.
I want to make sure we're good on the flyer now. I can start publicizing it, right? Or do we want to do anything? So I know that was the concern. We didn't want to push it out till the group approved of the flyer.
We just have to make a couple of tweaks, adding the tentative date for the second,
Okay,
and then the link to the survey.
okay, yeah. Make the changes, get me that, and I'll
Yeah,
start pushing it.
Okay, Diane, you have some questions?
Yes, hello, Diane Walbrecker, 535 West Main Street, Emmitsburg. Yeah, I'm sorry, I was gone all last week, and that was the only week that Kathy and Najila could meet with me. So I had sent them some documents of things we had done before. So were you able to use some of these to inform this? Okay, great. Because what we actually did, and let me just give you a real brief description of this. We actually met with the groups and went around and talked to them at their meetings and explained why the comp plan was so important and why their input was important. So we didn't just have a flyer. We went and talked to them, including the people at the senior center, the fire department, ambulance company, Knights of Columbus, VFW, COPE, Northgate, the HOAs. So just for your knowledge. And then I have notes about when we spoke to them. We didn't get to everybody, but we got to a lot of them. Another thing that might be something that you guys could consider is that people don't understand what a comprehensive plan is. So when we were reviewing the plan, help asking people for input, we put the existing policies in, really briefly described so that they could understand what was in there already. And then they could say, oh yeah, that's a great idea, or, oh no, that really stinks, or whatever. But at least they had like a real brief comprehensive planning for dummies summary of it, which I think was probably helpful. I suggested some of the groups that we might want to include. Personally, you saw that. And then we actually had a subcommittee of the Planning Commission that, and I've got who we were and what we did and our stationery in terms of what we got accomplished. So we had somebody from the National Emergency Training Center. I've already talked with them and told them I'm not official, but would you guys be interested in contributing to visioning statements and information about the comprehensive plan revision? And they said, absolutely. And Mount St. Mary's, I haven't talked to them yet, but you have. Okay, good. And then I had a survey that we did when we were doing the update back in 2004. So I hope some of this was helpful to you. I'm so sorry I didn't get a chance to meet with you guys, but that was the only time they had available, was the week I was gone. So I think this is good, and I'll be happy to help however I can. I'm just concerned that maybe the notice and the Facebook things may not be enough. We may need to personally invite people and and I don't know whether it would be better for you guys to decide how you're going to divide and conquer among the groups, or whether it might be better to have a formal letter sent from the town of Emmitsburg once we have a new mayor, and signed by the new mayor explaining the importance of it, or maybe the chair of the planning commission or something. But I think sometimes a formal letter can really help to involve people. So anyway, those are just some of the ideas I have, but I got lots of ideas, and I'm so sorry I didn't even think to look on the website to print out the package. I was doing other stuff today for the Lions Club. So thank you for giving me that, Valerie. I appreciate it. So anyway, happy to help however you guys think I would be useful, but I don't want to step on anybody's toes. Just because I've done this before doesn't mean it was right. So just whatever ideas, and you can pick my brain, and I've got lots of information from our other stuff. And I did a huge project on writing a recovery plan with the town of Emmitsburg. And a lot of times small communities will incorporate elements of recovery planning for disasters into their comprehensive plan, because it's important. That's what a lot of times is used following a disaster. They use policies and procedures in the comprehensive plan. So there's some elements of that I've got in some research I did. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Diane. So I do think it's important that we try to get more direct contact with at least some groups, or the primary groups in town, other than just the flyer and Facebook and all that. I'm not sure how that will go, how that will happen. You were talking about going to individual meetings and meeting with people, and I don't know who would do that or how we would delegate that. That's certainly something to think about. Do you have any thoughts on that, Najila?
I have talked to Kathy about this. I did plan to go out myself, go to the different businesses and different organizations in town and introduce myself and hand them a flyer, ask them to come.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that.
Okay. So I've been review. As I guess most of you recall, there's a education course that you have to take when you first get on the planning commission meeting. Get on a planning commission, and I've been reviewing that, and I did notice that oftentimes there's an advisory group that's appointed when we're doing a comp plan, or many communities do that. And it's kind of what I guess Diane was getting at. I don't know if we think that's necessary, like the Citizens Advisory Board or something. like that
I
on
think
board.
it comes out to time. And I'm going to go back to Diane's experience because conversations we've had, I just got the impression you had some pulling teeth to get information from people. And I think if that's the general approach, people don't want to get involved, that we have to reach out, or people have to reach out. It may be a small group that, represents and goes out and is talking to the HOAs and doing the things like that.
Any other thoughts on that? Just a thought. I don't know if we're prepared to organize that now or if it's necessary. I mean, you were saying that you're going out to talk to groups. That puts a lot on you, it seems like, but if,
Get away from my desk.
oh, okay. Okay, that's a good thing then.
Yeah, we had talked about it, and we do have other staff that's willing to go out and help Nigelia make contact with all the different demographics in town. But obviously, we are a small staff, so
yeah.
assistance will be needed. If you want to do an advisory group, you're more than willing. You can do an advisory group. You could have one of your commission members be the liaison and then pick certain demographics you want to focus on. But that's your guys' decision. And at the staff level, we'll do as much as we can to get out and hand carry the flyers and meet and greet people.
Yeah, I mean, that's my big worry when just talking to Diane and conversations over the last year. And it just panics me to hear some of the stuff they had to do to get involvement. And I think that's critical. I mean, I keep saying, it's not only the individuals, it's the businesses, it's the social organizations, it's the religious organizations. We have to touch all of them to see what their concerns, what their wants are, and what they're strongly against to make this. We also have all the state requirements.
Yeah, well, that's kind of automatic.
Yeah.
That's like. a
But we have to
template. We just
explain
plug
to-
it in.
But we got to explain to people what those plugins are.
I do really like Diane's idea of having for each workshop, if we're talking about the vision, to have a summary of what the vision is, because it's hard, or economic development. I think if I came to a workshop, I would want to know what the current vision was in order to comment whether I thought it should change or stay the same, or, same thing with economic development. If we don't show them what the current comp plan says, it's not going to lead them into the direction, of adding value to making changes to it. So I really like that idea, and we could simply have it as part of the workshop and include it on the web for people to see what the current plan states, to, have an idea of, okay, what changes would I even suggest? So I like that idea. I think that would be useful.
Yeah, and I think just as important, I think knowing what's there now, and as Diane is want to let me know where we override and have changed the plan over the years and why we make those changes.
So yeah, I agree that it might be beneficial to have like a summary of some of what's in the current plan, but I mean, the current plan is that thick. It's kind of hard to explain that at meetings,
Well,
but you can summarize some of
Yeah.
the high level points.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, even like bullet points.
Yeah.
Just hitting the highlights so people would know, what we're even talking about when we
Yeah.
talk about, environmental sustainability.
Yeah.
What does that even mean? So if we had some bullets that kind of just,
Yeah.
explained it a little bit. So
You know,
people have a jumping off point on, where do we want to go with that?
Like when we talked at the last plan, business anchors, where we plan to have business anchors in town and from the original plan.
Okay. You have thoughts?
Yeah, do we think that potentially this first overarching vision meeting could be also be a farming event for maybe an advisory board? And if we have folks come and participate in that meeting and feel the need to have some sort of advisory board created, would it make sense that we could ask for help from the folks that actually showed up to participate? Depending upon participation, if we feel like we need to continue the outreach after your first meeting, if it's, we feel like there's still a lot of folks that haven't been reached.
Yeah, that's a good idea, getting their help. They would probably have more ideas as to how to reach those people than
And those
we
are
do.
folks who are obviously interested if they
Right.
come to the
Yeah.
meeting to participate.
Yeah, they've jumped the big hurdle if they're here.
Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah. Okay. So I think for the time being that, I think that's kind of a good idea to wait and see who shows up at that first meeting and then think about creating an outreach team or advisory committee or whatever we want to call them to help us reach other people, whoever their network is, perhaps. That kind of sounds like a good way to go.
Also, when would you like this flyer finalized so that it can be,
The sooner the better.
Yeah, sooner rather than later.
okay,
Yeah. Um,
Water bill has to be done by Thursday.
okay,
Yeah, because I want to start getting the electronic distributions out. So,
Okay.
some of the groups,
all right.
that way I know Diane can talk to it about the next Lions meeting if she has it. I can get it to the business community. We can start getting it out to next groups. And like all the HOAs will have mandatory meetings coming up in October.
Okay,
so
so,
I should know this, but when does the next water bill come out?
on Friday,
This coming Friday?
this coming Friday.
Oh, okay. So we
So,
want to have it ready by then.
great. Okay, so tomorrow. And yeah, so once it's ready to go out with the bills, I'll let you all know. I'll forward this to you, then you can circulate it.
I guess I'll just interject. If you want to put a tentative meeting on the schedule, you probably should determine that tonight so that it can go on the flyer for a second meeting for the overarching vision.
I was going to say, I guess the logical thing would be in the end of November, but we're clashing with what Thanksgiving probably. I don't have a calendar in front of me. But
Thanksgiving is the 23rd this year.
so that's a Thursday. So I guess the following Monday could be possible, I guess. Unless people have,
Yeah, I would think early November to keep the momentum going. Try to get people back in here for the second part.
Okay. So would Monday, the 20th be better than the 27th? Or Oh,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah, with people traveling, I think the 13th would probably be better. Because people tend to travel around Thanksgiving.
So November
Okay.
13th,
13th,
November 13th, is that a
Okay.
Monday?
and that doesn't clash with the town council meeting, does it? I don't know. Okay. Yes, Diane, we're kind of loose here tonight. Go ahead.
there may be other people who you would want their involvement, but who will never be able to make a Monday night meeting at 7:00. So
Yeah,
I'm
Yeah.
just thinking, now you could have sub meetings or something. Some of that, time. But I'm just saying, maybe get out of the idea that it always has to be a Monday at 7:00. Consider other dates.
Are there better days of the week?
I imagine no matter what night you
Yeah.
pick, some people can't be there that night.
Never be there on Monday night because of other commitments that they have with other organizations. And I'm saying sometimes you need to have some groups go out and just meet. split things, get their input from them in their location rather than having them come here. So, bring that up. We did it on weekends, we did it at their locations.
Okay,
What I said to Nigelia, and if you don't mind me interjecting.
no, please.
Is that I would stick with those core dates, because if you start adding too many dates,
Yeah.
people are gonna be like, you know what, that's too much, I
Yeah.
can't commit. And then you can add dates as needed. I think if you get these core dates out, then people are gonna look at their schedule and figure it out.
That sounds reasonable. Okay. You want to go to the next item, Najila?
Sure. So the next item is the proposed format of the document. I know Mr. Jakubiec and I presented a version of it, of the sections of the document before, but after doing some research, getting guidance from Mr. Jakubiec and studying other examples of comp plan, and the work of drafting parts of the chapters to date, staff has decided that it might be wise to rearrange the document to have an introductory section, an existing condition section, and then plan for the future, and then implementation. So it's easier to follow, especially for someone who doesn't have a background in planning or things like that. So, like I said, the sections are introduction, existing conditions, vision for the future, and implementation. And the chapter that was presented at the last planning commission meeting, the introductory chapter, may need to be rewritten or edited to fit the current proposed format. And the interest section will also include an executive summary, which will be written based on all the other chapters in this plan. The chapter on existing conditions will encompass various aspects of the current conditions in town. So population, demographics, natural resources, land use, housing, transportation, community facilities, and design. And then the public visioning workshops will help enhance these chapters because we'll get firsthand account of what's being experienced by the community right now. And then the vision for the future section will include the same elements, but it will be based on the understanding of the town's preferred vision or preferred future. And then the last section is the implementation, which will take all the goals in the vision for the future section and turn them into strategies and recommendations that can serve as a roadmap for actions that the town can take to make the that future a possibility. So with all that, I'd like to introduce you to the proposed title of this document, which is, as cheesy as it sounds, Envision Emmitsburg. The word envision, in a sense, involves the act of mentally creating a detailed concept of something that may not exist yet, with the goal of making it a reality. So I would say it's a fairly suitable title for this document because it encapsulates our approach of not only taking what we have right now, but also envisioning a future with a purpose of planning, creating, and achieving it. So would really like your feedback on what I just told you.
Okay.
Works for me.
Any comments from commissioners?
I think it's progressive. I like it. I think it's bringing Emmitsburg a little bit forward. Yeah.
I really like the outline because, you know, it talks about where we're at, where we want to go and how we're going to get there. And breaking it down into those categories really puts it into perspective. So I like it.
Thank you.
I agree. Yeah, I like this a lot. And I like Envision Emmitsburg. I will put in one little tidbit. There was a group in Thurmont that called themselves Envision Thurmont that were fighting the annexation in Thurmont. So I
Oh.
hope no one thinks we're like a similar group. And I actually belonged to a nonprofit at one time called Envision Frederick County. And we tried to get Thurmont to stop using that name, but we didn't have a patent on it. So, I mean, they had a specific connotation in Thurmont, but all that aside, I still think it's a good name. But I did have a question about the community facilities. I assume this is true, but that does include the water and sewer system.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's real important to address that. Any other comments about that? That piece? Okay. Want to move on to the chapters?
Yeah, so this is chapter 2 and chapter 3 are parts of chapter 2, parts of chapter 3. The second chapter of the plan talks about population and demographics of the town. And so the population data from the town and the county from 1960 to 2020 has been added along with graphs showing population changes and analysis of those changes. The chapter also includes age and gender profile from 2020 decennial census. So there's a population pyramid and a couple of pie charts showing the population breakdown. And then the chapter also includes a section addressing the number of households and housing occupancy. This doesn't include an analysis just yet because it's in progress. And so it's a section regarding income. Do you want to discuss that first before moving on to the third one, or do you want me to?
Anybody have questions about chapter 2? Comments?
I just think as we get public comment, we got to be able to explain the population drop is the sisters moving. And we have to be able to understand that to people why, because they're gonna freak when they see that.
Do we know for sure that is why?
We did a study a year and a half ago, and we determined that was the big drop in
Okay.
population.
And in here, there were a couple of reasons mentioned for the drop. So it was addressed.
But it didn't include the nuns leaving town.
No, it didn't.
Well, I guess out migration of residents would include
Yeah.
that. Yeah, in the broad sense.
Yeah, that was the big chunk that drove it.
Yeah.
An
That pushed it
aging
negative.
population.
Mhm.
Go ahead. Yeah,
Um,
Diane is speaking.
is there any consideration?
Or maybe you want to speak at the microphone if you're going to talk.
Is there any consideration to having a discussion? Any consideration about having a discussion about the temporary populations that we have with our existing institutions? Because they're not part of the town census, but they impact our businesses. And by that, I mean NETC houses 650 students when they come in. So there's some importance to knowing how many students are in town, how often they turn over, same with the Mount, because it impacts our businesses and could impact our traffic flows and everything else. So I was just wondering if you had thought about that and the population stuff.
It was mentioned briefly about Mount St. Mary's students, but maybe flesh that out a little more and discuss a
Okay.
little more what some of the impacts are.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I think the mayor have a feel on, what's coming in at FEMA and at specific times, had some conversations and a feel for that. And the Mount, just call and they'll give us their numbers.
I, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I was questioning that, the Mount population, the increase of the age 20 to 24, that was a question that I had. Would that data actually go into Emmitsburg's count for a census though? Wouldn't the students themselves be counted from wherever they live? Or do they actually get counted into Emmitsburg's data? I don't know how that works.
They get counted where they live, where their physical address is, so whatever state they came from.
That makes
Is where they
sense.
get counted.
That makes sense to me. So I don't know if we,
I didn't mean to interject. Would that include the folks that are renting houses like out in the community? Like I have a neighbor that's a house full of Mount students. Would they be counted in this census locally or still where they came from?
Where they came from.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So unless they were long-term, this is national census data. So it goes back to home residents, college students. So like if they registered here to vote, they would count in the census here. If they didn't, it goes back to their home district.
so my only question to that whatever page that is.
This one?
Yeah. So
It's
the
not numbered.
third to last page, when it talks about the population by age group two, just that first sentence on below the chart, I don't know if we want to include that or just tweak it slightly.
Okay.
Good point.
No, it does talk about the Daughters of Charity after that. No, we touched on that and they actually, because I remember before I was a commissioner, I served as an election judge one year and several of the sisters did come in to vote. So they were registered. They were, Emmitsburg residents registered to vote in town.
Yeah, they don't get a choice.
Yeah, they like voting. but-
Well, the next sentence, another substantial demographic includes those age 55 to 59, indicating an aging population. Is that really my age group? Considered an aging population?
No, they're youngsters.
Could we bump that up to the 65 and older category? I mean, I'm feeling a little offended.
I'm just going with what planning school taught me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
50 to 59, huh?
That's a big thing because we don't have appropriate resources for an aging community. So it's a big thing to address.
Yeah.
Because Frank's always beating about, well, what about my mother?
Well, there is a senior center and they offer some things.
But you're right. We probably should like reframe that and not.
Yeah, 55 to 59 is not that old these days.
Yeah, that's pretty young.
Okay. Any other comments about this piece? Want to move on to chapter 3?
Yeah, sure. So chapter 3, most of it is still in progress, but what's been added is the overview of the town's natural environment and how that has influenced the town's current development and how the future developments should take into account the current conditions of the natural environment. And then information regarding surface water, floodplain, and wetlands have also been included thus far. The floodplain map needs to be added. So like I said, it's in progress.
Mhm.
Because these are the new FEMA ones that came out last year or earlier this year.
Right, they went into effect on August 1st.
Yeah.
Did you have something, Joe?
Yeah, I don't know if this would go here in this chapter. Kathy can help me out with this too, because I'm trying to remember the history of this. Is this where we want to touch on out by Scott Road Farm? Isn't there an area there of like special grassland or something that ends in next year?
Next year. Yeah, so there's a section of the Scott Road Farm that is leased by Chesapeake Wildlife and Heritage Group. And that does expire next year. And then it'll come to the mayor and board to see if they want to renew or develop that for parks and recreational things.
All right, then I'll probably strike what I was saying there. I mean, it talks about wetlands. They're not really defining and showing a map. Although there might be a map later on, I can't remember. So never mind. That's just me thinking out loud. So forget that. But thank you for I thought it was next year. Was ringing a
Yeah,
bell for some
They've
reason.
been counting down till it ended.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on that? I know it's a little off topic, but
So
elaborate.
it's been in place probably for 20 years. It was an agreement between the town and Chesapeake Wildlife that a portion of the Scott Road Farm was to be used only by Chesapeake Wildlife for studies of the wetlands and grasses, and it had to be maintained. And they mowed it and took care of it for those years at a very nominal price. So it expires, that lease expires next year.
And you're thinking it won't be renewed? Is that where you're thinking?
Based off the few discussions I've had with a couple of elected officials, that it probably won't be renewed, but encouraged to be developed for Parks and Rec, whether it's biking trails, hiking trails, walking trails, things of that nature. And if other properties are developed, then that connects that to the town, and you've got a nice big open area.
So if if the use of that property is probably going to change, I mean, that seems like that's a good subject for the comprehensive plan, actually.
Probably the intent on what you'd like to see
Yeah.
done
Yeah.
with that property.
Yeah.
I think-
There's a
Yeah,
house
I
on
think
there
so.
that is of no use to anybody. So,
Can I look at it?
absolutely.
You found the use.
I can always come up with a use. Okay. Any other comments?
Owns that little piece?
Yes.
the
Yeah.
same lease? Okay.
Mhm.
What's
Yeah.
the size of it? Do you know? off the top of your head? And not the-
I don't, 10, 15 acres. And then we also own all of the Scott Road Farm there. A portion of that farm is leased to a cattle farmer next door, because there used to be a barn on the property. But as of right now, the town doesn't really do anything with that property.
Okay, and I realize this is still in a very rough draft, but let's see, it's the one, I think the second sentence in the first paragraph, it just reads odd to me, and I don't want to wordsmith it now, but just if you would read that over and see what you think.
Sorry, the second sentence in the first paragraph.
Yeah, the first sentence is long, so I think it's the second. It starts with, "It's crucial that any future growth in town takes existing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." When I read through it, it reads funny to me as you get near the end, but may just be me.
Okay. It's crucial that any future growth in town takes existing conditions into account and prioritizes sustainable development, as well as natural resources and sensitive areas of the ecosystem. Oh, I see. what
Are
you mean,
vital, that is funny there. It's-
Yeah, okay. I could probably make that into 2 sentences,
Okay.
keeping it, yeah.
And then further down, we talk about in the second paragraph, we talk about the Upper Monocacy River watershed. And then in the next paragraph, we say eventually the waters from Tom's Creek join the Monocacy River, which in turn merges with the Potomac River flowing into the Chesapeake Bay. And then in the last paragraph, we say these waterways ultimately converge into the Monocacy River, which empties into the Chesapeake Bay. So it seems a little redundant, perhaps.
Okay.
I know it doesn't hurt to repeat things, but it be a different way to word that. I don't know. Not a biggie.
I don't want things to be redundant in this plan, but thanks for pointing that out. Yeah.
Okay. But other than that, what is here is good. Any other thoughts or comments on the natural environment and water resources piece?
The actual acreage on Scott Road Farm, I was way off, is 65 acres.
The
That's
total
way
farm.
off.
But that includes the cattle farming part too,
No,
though, right? That's just the wetlands.
Just the wetlands.
Oh, it
Ah.
doesn't include the cattle.
No,
farm.
that doesn't include the cattle. It's 65 acres
Goodness.
for crop farming, conservation practices, wetlands construction, buffer strip installation, and tree planting.
Wow.
Our portion that's not part of that is only 20 acres. That's where I was wrong.
That's a nice big park.
You know where those two ponds are?
Roughly, yeah.
You're not allowed to fish in those ponds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ones you aren't allowed to fish
Yeah.
in.
That's part of that conservation area, right, Ms. Willis? Yes.
Yeah, everybody fishes in.
Nobody fishes. in.
No one fishes in those. no.
So the town owns the 65-acre portion? Or-
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We have, so roughly 85 acres. 65 of that is rented to the Chesapeake Wildlife. And it's February 28th of 2024 when it expires.
Oh, it's right around the corner.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other comments about that section? Thank you, Najila.
Thank you.
I have just one comment. The summary chart that says comprehensive plan update, March 26th of 2024 towards the bottom. Should be March 25th. Okay. Thank you.
You have anything else, Diane? No whispering.
Have we worked with our state hazard mitigation officer in town or Frederick County's mitigation
Mhm.
officer? We're talking about this kind of natural events.
We worked with him, Dennis Dudley, when we did our Frederick, our hazard mitigation plan and was a part of theirs. The board adopted the ordinance. So yeah, we have been in contact with him. I'm sure Najee will touch base with him at some point. Mhm.
Thank you.
Just had to change, pass the new rules for that one.
Did you have anything else, Ms. Hassan?
No, that's all I got. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So that completes our old business. Have no new business. I just want to make note that I believe this is Joe Ritz's last meeting with us as the town liaison. Thank you so much, Joe. You've been a very beneficial member.
Thank you.
Like your contributions.
I appreciate that. I was going to touch on that tonight. Every year, at the end of the planning commission, I always say, you know, the upcoming election, and then when the board reorganizes, I never know where I'll be placed. Well, this year I knew for a fact where I won't be here. And I was thinking over the past 9 years as a commissioner, I served 2 for the Citizens Advisory, 3 for Parks and Rec, and actually the longest was here with the Planning Commission, 4 years. And some of you have been the entire time I've been here, and some just recent. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Been a pleasure. Thank you. And just for any TV audience that might be out there, remember tomorrow is election day. Get out and vote. And all those folks that are running, wish you well. We'll see what happens. Anything else from any commissioners? Final comments? Your light's red. It's been red. Okay. Then, if there's no further business, we are adjourned.